Hey Huff Clan. So, today is a video that's a little bit different. So I thought, bearing in mind, I write music about mental health, I thought that I would go into a bit of a discussion about, what my struggles have been and what made me start writing and everything like that. I thought, I'll do a video like this and it might help people to sort of see where I'm coming from, if that makes sense, and to see that I do understand, I have experience with mental health. That means that if any of you are struggling, you know that I've been there in the same situation. So I think to start, I'll just start from the beginning, really. As obviously at the moment, now I'm an adult, I'm 20, doing this, but I'm going to take you back to when I was a kid to start this all off. So, when I was a kid, I went through quite a lot of trauma. I was put through the foster care system. I got put in care at age 6, got adopted age 7. That didn't go very well, and that broke down when I was 10. So I went through quite a lot there. And then I was put back in the foster care system till I was 18. So a lot of stuff happened when I was a kid, which I'm not really going to go into, but there was a lot of stuff in my childhood that should never have happened and has a lasting effect on me to this day. That's really where everything started. Because that's a big part of why I struggle with my mental health now. So that's why I feel like that's relevant to bring up. So after I moved back into foster care when I was 10, that's when things started to sort of have more of an impact. So I was put under the CAMHS mental health service. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the Children and Adolescent Mental Health Service here in the UK. So age 10, I was put under them, just to help me deal with the past trauma that I'd had in my life. And because at age 10, that's when I started hearing voices in my head. Now, these voices at that point weren't particularly harmful, but they were there, and I used to describe them. So they all had names. Well, some of them had names, some of them didn't, because there was like 30 of them. As a kid, I used to name them. So one was called Boggart because it wasn't very nice. There was one called Squeaky that had a very high-pitched voice that was particularly horrible. I didn't like that one at all. So some of them had names, some of them didn't. That's just a couple of examples of the ones that had names. when I was 12, that's when I started to struggle with SH. If you don't know what SH is, search it up on Google, because I can't really go into it. I can't say the actual thing because I will get demonetized or banned, because I'll probably put this on more than one platform. Yeah, so from age 12 I started struggling with that, and at first it was seen by my foster carer at the time and my social worker that I was doing it for attention, but once it didn't stop, I think they started to realise it was a bit more serious. Now, all this time I was with CAMHS until I was 17. But when I got to 17, they just said I couldn't be fixed. That was their exact words. So they discharged me. But we'll get to that. Another thing I used to do was my foster care would make me have packed lunches at school, and I wouldn't eat them. And because I wouldn't eat them, but I didn't want her to get cross with me, I used to hide them from her so that she wouldn't know that I hadn't eaten. Sometimes she'd find them and then I'd have to come up with an excuse. Sometimes she wouldn't find them and I'd just be able to dispose of them without her even finding out. But a lot of the time she would find them. Yeah, so that is something else. They're the main things up until I left foster care. Once I left foster care, there's more insight I can give to you. But while I was in foster care, when I was 13, I got diagnosed with autism. So I'm autistic. And that's what really allowed me to get into music. Music was my particularly special interest and something I was actually good at. So a lot of my time in foster care, I put into music. And even after foster care, I did music GCSE. I used to go to orchestras. I used to do singing. I did A-level music. And obviously now I'm writing my rap songs. That's something that's still very much a centerpiece in my life, is music. The autism, I suppose, has helped in that sense, but being autistic often also caused my mental health to be worse, because I used to get bullied at school for it. I used to also get bullied at school because I was brought up the way I was brought up in foster care and that. And then when I was 16, I got diagnosed as epileptic. Now that was something that was a bit of a sort of lucky chance that I got diagnosed with that, because CAMHS, obviously I was still with them at this point because I was still 16 and I didn't get discharged from them till I was 17. So at that point I was still with CAMHS. They said that because the type of seizures I have are only petit mal seizures or absence seizures, which mean I don't shake, I just sort of look like I'm daydreaming. They thought that it was disassociation, because they'd assumed that because of the voices, because of my past and my upbringing, that it was disassociation. But it was only because the neurologist had put me on the epilepsy medication and said, if it works, we know it's epilepsy. If it doesn't work, we know it's not epilepsy and it's something else. And it worked. So in that case, it was sort of luck of the draw as to whether it would confirm the diagnosis or not, which it did. So thankfully that is, that's sorted now. But yeah, that took a major toll on my mental health as well, because that meant that because I was having seizures, until I was 1 year seizure free, I was not allowed to have a shower without anyone sitting outside the bathroom door. I wasn't allowed to go walk anywhere on my own, or, you know, I wasn't allowed to cross roads on my own. I wasn't allowed to be left in the house on my own. I couldn't go and do certain things, like I couldn't go to the cinema, I couldn't go swimming. You know, a lot of stuff I couldn't do. And obviously at the age of 16, you want to start working on your independence. You want to be learning how to, you know, get public transport if you don't already know before 16. You want to be looking at getting a part-time job. You want to be looking at this, that and the other, which I wanted to do. I'd already actually started to do that, and then got the diagnosis and got told, well, you can't even cross a road on your own. So yeah, that was great. But it took 4 years. But now, at the moment, I am 2.5 years, nearly 2.5 years, seizure free. So now I can go out and do stuff on my own. I live on my own. You know, I can start doing those things, which is amazing, really. So yeah, so now we're going to move on to after foster care, because that's really everything up until I was 18. So we're going to focus on from 18. So now in my adult life, all the stuff that's impacted me and my mental health and led to what I do now. So when I was 18, I had to move out of foster care, because unless you're on a program called Staying Put, once you're 18, you have to leave foster care. You don't have a choice. It's not like if you're living with your parents or grandparents or whoever else, and, you know, when you're 18, you don't have to move out. You know, you can stay till you're in your 20s or even your 30s, 40s, however long, right? In foster care, you have to move out when you're 18. So, that's what I did. So, I've been out of foster care now for literally just over 2 years. I moved out of foster care on the 25th of February, 2022. So just over 2 years ago. And I moved into semi-independent living in a shared house. Now, this was obviously quite a big step. And my mental health was still not great. I mean, as you know, sometimes some days are better, some days are worse. But I shared the house with 2 other people who I'm not going to name, because obviously their confidentiality is important. But one of them used to cause quite a lot of problems in the house and got kicked out, but used to keep turning up all the time. And when they did turn up, we used to have to call the police and not let them in. And that caused a lot of riot and a lot of sort of bringing up emotion and fear, mainly. I used to often ring my dad in absolute hysterics when these events would happen. And then me and the other person used to get on really well. We still do get on really well. We talk now, even now. Anytime we used to have, one of us was having a bit of a crisis, we used to, you know, sit with each other and talk to each other. And we used to get on really, really well. We still are really good friends, me and this person. Yeah. And then in January of 2023, my landlord of the semi-independence house sold the house, basically. And so I moved into a flat. I still had carers and support like I had in the first shared house. But it was just a 2-bedroom flat. And that was the worst time of my life living there. I only lived there for 3 months. 3 months I lived there. And for 1 month, I didn't have any carpet down. I had no cooker. I had no heating, no hot water. And it was the middle of January when I moved in. So, as you can imagine, middle of winter, without anything you need, it was a really, really tough month. My rent wasn't getting paid because someone manages my finances for me at the moment still. So I don't pay my bills, they pay them on my behalf, if that makes sense. So they weren't paying my rent. There was a lot of stuff going wrong in that flat, and I used to spend all day, every day, other than when I was in college, and that was my safe place. That was my safe place until I started getting bullied. But we'll get on to that. But the flat, I used to spend all the time I wasn't at college, I used to sit in my room because at this point I still wasn't a year seizure free. So I still had to have staff there all the time with me. And I just didn't get on with them. And I couldn't be bothered talking to them anymore. So I used to just sit in my room all day. And obviously that caused a lot of, more SH incidents, attempts, to, I can't say it because, again, I'll get demonetized or banned. So there's that. There's also, as you can tell, it was a very difficult time for me. And, and I was in college. I was doing a policing course at college at the same time. And at this time, there was 3 girls in particular that used to bully me. And there was this one particular incident that I will never forget. So me and my friend at college, we used to often hang out together, obviously, because we were friends. And on my course, we used to get access to the college gym because it was a policing course, so we needed to know about fitness and stuff like that. So there was this one day where we went to the gym, me and my mate, and these 3 girls that I'd had problems with before basically came into the changing room that me and my friend were in. No one else was in there other than me, my friend, and these 3 girls, right? And the lock was on the inside of the changing room, so they locked the door behind them on their way in. And started basically squaring me up. I was like, I'm going to get beaten up here if I'm not careful, right? So, obviously, I just tried to ignore them, try walking away, right? And figure out the door's locked, right? Then they try and play off this whole act that, it's because it's 5 o'clock at night, they've locked us into, the staff at the gym have locked us into the changing room. The lock was on the inside, right? I figured out the lock was on the inside, unlocked the door, walked out. Now, between the changing room door and the door back into the main college was 3 sets of double doors. And in front of the first set, one of the girls decided it would be funny to block the door. I turned around and said, move. She was like, why? I was like, move. So the first time, she moved. I didn't even have to explain why. I just said, move again, and she moved, right? Second set of double doors come up, right? She blocks the door again. I turn around this time and I go, move now or I will stamp on your foot. So she moves. Third time, she blocks the door. I don't even say anything to her this time. I just dig my heel into the top of her foot as hard as I can. Yeah, and she moves. Right? And then I went up. I went past the door, right, into the college. And basically went and found one of my tutors and said about the incident that had happened. They could see these 3 girls blocking the doors on the CCTV. But what they couldn't see or prove was the fact that I'd stamped on her foot. They couldn't see that. So I didn't get in trouble for that, thankfully. But they got in trouble for the way they'd behaved with me. So yeah, but that incident still causes a lot of, that incident did scare me and did evidently stick with me for quite a long time. Yeah, so college was all right, to be fair. Other than these 3 girls, college was fine. But everything sort of started to come to a head in March 2023. There was more regular SH incidents. There was more regular attempts. And it basically led to, in the end, it led to me basically just leaving. So I used to live in Cumbria, right? This is where all this stuff, up until me leaving in May last year, 2023, up until then I lived in Cumbria, right? So I got a train on the 3rd of May, 2023, yeah? I'd never got a train on my own before in my life, right? I got a train all the way from Cumbria, 4 hours down south to Stafford. Because that's near where my dad and that live, around that area. My family are from around here. Whereas my adopted parents were the people in Cumbria, and obviously I didn't want to be around them anymore. So yeah, once I did that, I was living at my dad's for, from May until about end of July. So nearly 3 months I was living at my dad's. And then, luckily, I was able to move in here, into this flat. And I used to have carers and stuff like that, but I don't have them anymore. Obviously, now I've done 2 years seizure-free. Over the last couple of months, though, my mental health has been quite bad again, since about Christmas, just before Christmas. Nothing particularly has set it off. It's just not been great. There's been SH incidents. There's been 3 ODs, if you know what that means. I've been in hospital, I think 4 times, 3-4 times in the last month, 2 months. I've been put on medication, but that's not working yet. I've got an assessment for therapy next week. But the thing that is helping me to get through it is writing down how I'm feeling about stuff, right? So, all these bits of paper here are for my rap songs. And I just sit as I'm feeling something, if I'm upset or stressed or whatever, I'll just sit and write. And I'll write and write. No matter what it's about, it'll be about different things. As you've seen, because they're all on here. And then for Valentine's Day, my partner got me a keyboard. 1, for my benefit, and 2, because he wanted me to teach him how to play piano. And that has helped, because that's meant that I can write the music for my songs and actually put them out properly. Yeah, and so because of everything that's been going on, and everything in my past that has happened, there's a lot of stuff I can write from heart, and that people can relate to, because it's how you actually feel about it as it's happening. Or, you know, I mean, it's 10 years since my adoption broke down, and yet I still think about it every day. I have flashbacks, I have nightmares about it, I have all sorts of stuff about it. You know, and it's like the voices, when I was 16, 17, went away. I didn't deal with them for ages, for years, right? And then suddenly, once I got put on these meds, the voices came back, and that has been something I've been struggling with quite a lot, because obviously they're telling me to do things I don't want to. You know, as you'll see with my song Battle with the Subconscious, you know, that's basically me having a conversation with my mind, having an argument with my mind. And it's a very real thing. A lot of people don't understand that hearing voices, it's not like, you know, they seem very real, very, very real. And in our heads, we know that it's not real, but it's very difficult to shut them out. I mean, even when I write my music, even when I'm watching TV, even when I'm doing, you know, something else, even when I'm out with my partner or at my dad's or on the phone, you know, no matter what I'm doing, they're always there. They're always there. They're there right now while I'm talking to you guys. It's just a matter of learning to sort of block it out, which is a very difficult thing to do, but that's why I'm getting help for it. But yeah, and obviously writing these rap songs is what's got me to set up, you know, this YouTube channel, my TikTok account, Facebook page, all that. And my next step is to, I've got a couple more songs to write. I'm gonna make like mini albums, so EPs basically, with 6 songs in each one. And so once I've written a couple more songs, there's one that's going to be called Good Enough and one that's going to be called Zoned Out that I need to write lyrics for. And then I'll have them two and my mentality to write the music for. And once I've done that, then I will have 2 EPs ready. All I need to do is save up to get them recorded professionally, get them produced, this, that and the other, which is the bit that takes time and the bit that costs a lot of money, which is why I'm not doing that as of yet. But I put them out there anyway, because I want you guys to realise that you're not alone. I understand exactly what you're going through. And if I don't understand, I try to understand. I'm learning every day. Even, you know, the paramedics on one day when I was going to the hospital after an OD, right? One of the things that I find is that food is something I can control, right? So I won't eat for like a week at a time. And it's not that I don't want to eat. It's just that I can't bring myself to do it. And the paramedics were saying that they think I'm anorexic. And that's something I need to talk to my GP about. But I didn't know anything about eating disorders until then. Like, I knew little bits, obviously, like, you know, I've had friends and, you know, relatives and things that have dealt with eating disorders in the past. But in terms of how it actually pans out, I didn't know anything about that until it's happening to me. But I am getting help for it. You know, once this assessment next week is done, they'll find the right support for me that I need to get help. And, you know, but writing my rap songs helps me to deal with it in the here and now, to deal with everything in the here and now. And that's why people find they can relate to my songs, because I write it as I'm going through it. It's not something that I write afterwards or, you know, beforehand. It's as I'm feeling it on that particular day, I will sit and write about it. Which makes it more true to heart, really. But, yeah, I realise this has been a really long video, but I just thought I'd share, you know, a bit more about myself, a bit more about what I've been through, a bit more about what's motivated me to start writing songs. Just so you get to know a little bit more about me, you know. Yeah. So thank you for watching this video. And if you haven't heard my songs, feel free to check them out. They're on this YouTube page somewhere. You'll find them. Yeah, hope you all have a good rest of your day and rest of your week. And I will speak to you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye.